English Literature Introduction to Poetry. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Wordsworth. Brief questions with answers. Question 1. When and where was William Wordsworth born? Answer. He was born in 1770 at Cockermouth. Question 2. Who was Annette Bellot? Answer. Annette Bellot was a French young lady with whom Wordsworth was in love during his first tour to France. Question 3. What was William Wordsworth and Annette Bellot's daughter's name? Answer. Their daughter's name was Caroline. Question 4. Which of William Wordsworth's poem is considered his greatest autobiographical epic? Answer. The Prelude is considered his greatest autobiographical epic. Question 5. Who was William Wordsworth's wife? Answer. Mary Hutchison was William Wordsworth's wife, whom he married in 1802, and they had 4 children. Question 6. When was William Wordsworth appointed Poet Laureate? Answer. William Wordsworth was appointed Poet Laureate in 1843. Question 7. When did William Wordsworth die? Answer. He died on 23rd April 1850. Question 8. From where did Wordsworth graduate? Answer. Wordsworth graduated from St. John's College, Cambridge University in 1791. Question 9. What was the name of the literary age that Wordsworth initiated? Answer. The name of the literary age that Wordsworth initiated is the Romantic Age. Question 10. Why William Wordsworth is called a Romantic poet? Answer. William Wordsworth is called a Romantic poet. He launched the revival of Romanticism in English literature along with Coleridge, and he maintained the criteria of Romanticism through his poetic career. Question 11. Why William Wordsworth is called a lake poet? Answer. William Wordsworth is called a lake poet because he lived in Lake District, Cumbria, United Kingdom for a long time during his poetic career. Question 12. What is the name of the pioneering work composed jointly by Wordsworth and Coleridge? Answer. The name of the pioneering work that Wordsworth and Coleridge jointly composed is Lyrical Ballads. Question 13. When did the Romantic Age begin? Answer. The Romantic Age began with the publication of the Lyrical Ballads in 1798. Question 14. What was the poet doing according to the opening line of the poem, I wandered lonely as a cloud? Answer. The poet was walking alone without any purpose. Question 15. What did the poet see in I wandered lonely as a cloud? Answer. The poet saw a huge number of daffodils. Question 16. Where did the poet see the daffodils? Answer. The poet saw the daffodils under a row of trees along the margin of the bay of a lake. Question 17. With what have the daffodils been compared? Answer. The daffodils have been compared with the bright stars in the Milky Way. Question 18. What does Wordsworth suggest by the comparison between the stars and the daffodils? Answer. The poet suggests the uncountable number of daffodils by the comparison between the stars and the daffodils. Question 19. Did the poet count the daffodils? How many flowers did he find? Answer. The poet did not count the daffodils. He emotionally said that 10,000 saw I at a glance. Question 20. Which of the two the waves of the daffodils danced more gleefully? Answer. The daffodils danced more gleefully than the waves in the lake. Question 21. What did Wordsworth say about a poet at the sight of the daffodils? Answer. The poet said that a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. Question 22. What was the wealth that the dancing daffodils brought to the speaker? Answer. The dancing daffodils brought to the speaker sweet memories which would prove more valuable than money in future. Question 23. How does the scene of the dancing daffodils prove to the poet a source of spontaneous overflow of powerful emotion? Answer. The dancing daffodils prove to the poet a source of spontaneous overflow of powerful emotion in his pensive mood. They flash on his inner eye as the bliss of solitude and make his heart dances like the daffodils. Question 24. What is the structure of the poem I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud? Answer. The poem consists of 4 regular stanzas. Each stanza comprises 6 iambic pentameter lines rhyming A, B, A, B, C, C. Question 25. What does the change of tense in the 4th stanza signify? Answer. The poet uses the past tense in the first 3 stanzas, but in the 4th stanza he uses the present tense. This change in the use of tense signifies that the poet has recollected his past memory while composing the poem. Question 26. Give example of a simile and a metaphor from I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Answer. Simile. Wandered lonely as a cloud. An explicit comparison has been made between I and a cloud. Metaphor. I saw a crowd of golden daffodils. An implicit comparison has been made between a crowd of people and a huge number of daffodils. Question 27. Name the figure of speech in the line beside the lake beneath the trees. Answer. In this line, be has been used at the beginning of the word of the words, so there is a use of alliteration in this line. Question 28. What are the 2 moods reflected in I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud? Answer. In the first 3 stanzas, the mood is happy, but the speaker refers to a pensive mood in the opening of the 4th stanza. Question 29. Name the figure of speech in the line 10,000 saw I at a glance. Answer. The name of the figure of speech in the quoted line is hyperbole. It is an exaggerated expression of the speaker's feeling, the sight of the dancing daffodils. Question 30. What figure of speech do you find in the line continuous as the stars that shine? Answer. There is a simile in it because the shining stars have been compared to the daffodils explicitly. Question 31. Name the figure of speech in the line tossing their heads in springly dance. Answer. There is a personification in this line because the daffodils have been treated as living beings who are tossing their heads. Question 32. Do you find any figure of speech in the line fluttering and dancing in the breeze? Explain the reason. Answer. There is a use of personification in the line because the daffodils have been imagined as birds which flutter their wings and dances. Question 33. Name the figure of speech in the waves beside them danced. Answer. Here the waves have been treated as living beings. It is a case of personification. Question 34. What figures of speech is there in the line I gazed and gazed but little thought? Answer. There is a use of alliteration in the repetition of the letter G. There is also a case of epizexis in the repetition of the word gazed, which has been used for emphasizing the feeling of the moment. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud by William Shakespeare. The question's answers. Question 35. What is meant by inward eye? Answer. By inward eye, the poet means the sixth sense or the mind that can perceive sadness or happiness from memory. Question 36. To what does the poet refer as the bliss of solitude? Answer. The poet refers to the immense pleasure that he finds from the recollection of the memory of dancing daffodils as the bliss of solitude. Question 37. What wealth does the show bring to the persona of the poem "I Wander Lonely as a Cloud"? Answer. The show of the daffodils becomes wealth for the persona because its memory brings immense joy for him when he is in a pensive mood. Question 38. Where does exactly in the poem the communion between man and nature take place? Answer. The communion between man and nature takes place in the lines, a poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. Okay, viewers, thank you for watching my video.